turn it over to you.
Kitsimigwait sa pagitanabiyan sa betchay miyan siya matahtogan tis nakasong kita bego kundoschin. Watchinito inanogo to gas chicha kapagitanabiyan sa betchay miyan. I just want to translate that because I know the translators don't have that. My name is Shannon Materawaban from Fort Albany, Ontario, in Northern Ontario. I want to thank the people of this territory for allowing us to have this meeting on their territory. I want to tell you a little bit about the National Aboriginal Capital Corporations, but I want to build on what Jamie first started with, is an Indigenous term that speaks to what we're talking about today. And in the Cree worldview, Kwachi is the word that we use, and it basically speaks to the health of your neighbor determines the success of your future. And I think it speaks highly to what we're trying to talk about here with social impact investing, ensuring that we don't forget people, that we're inclusive of our society in general, because the capitalist way of thinking is individualistic, whereas our Indigenous worldview is community. And we won't be successful unless our community is successful. Yesterday, I was able to participate at the first day of the Sustainable Finance Forum. And I talked to some of the MPs and some people that didn't know about our network. So I want to make sure that I'm comprehensive with letting you know that more than 35 years ago, the government had a great idea to be inclusive of Indigenous people, to provide an amount of money, $240 million, that has now been recycled 15 times in the last 35 years. It's helped establish 59 financial institutions from coast to coast to coast, covering Inuit, Métis, and First Nations. Financial institutions that provide business developmental lending. The way that I describe it is we're the Indigenous version of the Business Development Bank of Canada. And they are a partner of ours as well, because we recently launched an Indigenous Growth Fund. And this is our tool to allow us to raise private sector capital to provide more capital into our network. There's about $350 million in loan capital that gets recycled, and it's been growing to $3.3 billion in lending. More than 50,000 loans have been provided throughout this network. So it's an infrastructure that's sitting out in the ecosystem, covering all parts of Canada, that is deploying capital. Now with this Indigenous Growth Fund, we've issued some loans to our members who are in turn providing that to the ecosystem, providing more business. For every loan provided, 72% increase in life satisfaction is experienced by that entrepreneur. 52% increased mental health indicators, and 20% increase in health indicators. Now, why I mention that is because those are real social impacts. Those are cost savings to Canada in social spend. It's increasing own source revenues for communities. It's impacting every community at every level.